Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at some incredibly fun spice in the Johto Cup, Shadow URSARING with Hyper Beam. These battles were submitted by a member of the community, so many thanks for the battle submission. Teaming up with Shadow URSARING are Ariados on the lead and Shadow Ampharos with Focus Blast. And this trainer does go on an impressive run back up to Legend rank with the team. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches and let's check out Shadow URSARING with Hyper Beam in action in the Johto Cup. Hopping to the first match, leading Ariados into Skarmory, absolutely terrible lead. Going to save switch into the Shadow URSARING, and the opponent is not swapping out. They bank a Sky Attack, and in comes Azumarill. He is going straight for the Hyper Beam. Does Azumarill respect it? They do not, and that almost one-shots Azumarill. Are you kidding me? Back in comes Skarmory, but Shadow URSARING is not done. Able to get to the close combat. Close combat gets the shield, and it's a CMP tie. Oh my goodness. Able to bring in Ampharos. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. Hopping to the next match, picking up a pretty nice lead, Ariados into Umbreon. The fact that Umbreon is staying in this lead does have me slightly worried that it could be running Psychic, and if so, even despite that lunge debuff, Psychic would do some significant damage. Moment of truth, it is Psychic, and that hits Ariados quite hard. Ariados will be able to fire back with the lunge. It will not KO, but will get that Umbreon deep into the red. And then Ariados, so spammy with Poison Sting, able to reach across Poison, which should be taking it out, but the Umbreon decides to shield. I like the decision to just let this go down, but they actually decide to go for a foul play. Foul play doesn't KO, and Ariados is able to reach another move. Oh my goodness. And they shield again, quick swap, and they're able to snipe with the Shadow URSARING. Shadow URSARING has an energy lead, shield advantage, and the opponent has no more shields. It sounds like it is Hyper Beam time. Going to commit the shield on the energy ball, and now nothing is stopping URSARING from Hyper Beaming. They overfarm, and the opponent catches on a Lantern, but that will not save them. Hyper Beam almost one-shots the Lantern. URSARING farms down. Back in comes the Jumpluff. You can run, but you can't hide from this Hyper Beam. URSARING committing the second shield. It's Hyper Beam time. Hello, Jumpluff. Goodbye, Jumpluff. Shadow URSARING banishing it to the Shadow Realm. And that is a good game. Hopping to the next match, leading Ariados into Jumpluff. This is a pretty nice lead for Ariados. Ariados does significantly outpace Jumpluff and is able to hit for super effective damage with the cross poisons, but you definitely have to be mindful of Acrobatics, as Acrobatics hits for massive damage in return. They shield up, but this is actually a non-Calm Day Jumpluff and they are running Aerial Ace. Thankfully, Aerial Ace is a way worse move, so Ariados can actually survive the Aerial Ace and then is going to go for the cross poison to secure the KO. I'm guessing Jumpluff just takes the shield advantage, which they do, and then they bring in Umbreon. So it does make sense why they stayed in, because they are double weak to Ariados, and Ariados will be able to put in a ton of work versus this Umbreon, even able to reach a second lunge. Lunge does not get shielded, and it's a CMP tie on the foul play. Double debuffed, this should not KO, but unfortunately going to get farmed down. And the final Pokemon is Azumarill. Oh my goodness, this opponent was so weak to Ariados, and now it's all up to Shadow Ampharos. Shadow Ampharos kind of has to shield. Unfortunately, the Azu does have Ice Beam, which is their cheapest charge move. That's definitely not what you want to see when you're down on energy. Ampharos, able to reach Thunder Punch number 2, but they should be outpaced before they're able to reach a third, so it's going to be up to URSARING to try and clutch. And that's tough, because URSARING can only hit for resisted damage unless they build all the way up to a Hyper Beam. Waiting the clock, going to need to bring in URSARING, maybe going to try and catch. They go for the catch, but they're not able to get it. The opponent read the catch, and they're going to be able to land a Play Rough on URSARING, which almost takes it out. URSARING able to reach a close combat, but unfortunately, this Umbreon is very healthy in the back, and Umbreon should be able to snarl down and not able to get the win. Hopping to the next match, leading Ariados into Skarmory, absolutely terrible lead. Save switches into the Shadow URSARING, and they bait out a Fury Cutter Gligar. Gligar is exceedingly spammy with Fury Cutter, able to spam out those Night Slashes incredibly quickly, but URSARING has a ton of energy, foregoing the Hyper Beam for double close combat, expecting a shield, and they get it. That's a very nice read. This second close combat, even when resisted, should do a solid chunk of chip damage, and should help put it into close to lunge range for Ariados. And I believe Gligar typically run Night Slash and Dig as their charge moves, so thankfully Ariados doesn't have too much to fear from Gligar in terms of charge moves. They go for the Night Slash, they tank that no problem, and now going for the lunge. This will be incredibly close as to whether it KOs. It does not, and Gligar is out of move. That is quite unfortunate there. Gligar able to reach it, aggressively switches into Ampharos and able to farm down. Ampharos has shield advantage and energy advantage, and the opponent has 2 flyers remaining, so Shadow Ampharos is in a great position to close out this match. The Jumpluff does reach a move. At this point, if you're Ampharos, you have to shield everything. They do shield up the energy ball, and they can overfarm as they're almost at back-to-back Thunder Punches. First Thunder Punch does get the shield, throws one more, and unfortunately Jumpluff is at a move, but at this point you can probably just Volt Switch down. So Ampharos should fairly easily be able to Volt Switch down. The opponent goes down, and there's nothing but that Skarmory remaining. Skarmory thought this was going to go so well upon seeing that Ariados, but Shadow Ampharos is here to take out the Skarmory, keep that Ariados protected, and that is a good game. Hopping to the next match, leading Ariados into Qwilfish. This is not a great lead. All charge moves from Ariados are resisted, whereas Qwilfish is able to hit for neutral with these Aqua Tails, and thanks to Poison Sting on both sides, there are going to be a lot of charge moves thrown in this match. Ariados going for the lunge. As you can see, even though Qwilfish is exceedingly glassy, that lunge does not do a significant amount of damage. They go for Aqua Tail number 2, and that gets Ariados deep into the red. Ariados going for the second lunge. Unfortunately, they are not going to be able to get to a third before this Qwilfish reaches another Aqua Tail, and they're just going to let the Ariados go down, and my guess is probably get some farm on that Shadow Ampharos. In comes Shadow Ampharos, able to farm down, and the opponent has Meganium, and this is not good whatsoever. Shadow Ampharos going for the Focus Blast. Does Meganium respect the Focus Blast? They do not. Goes for the catch, not able to get the catch, but Ampharos will be able to Volt Switch down the Meganium, and what do they have in the back? And it's Skarmory. Good game. Hopping to the next match, leading Ariados into Shadow Piloswine. That is an incredibly cool pick. Definitely don't want to switch out, because ideally you want to keep this Shadow Piloswine away from the Ampharos, and lunge does absolutely massive damage. So long as this is not a Stone Edge, should be able to survive it. Just the Avalanche, but even that Avalanche does an incredible amount of damage. Going for lunge number 2, the Shadow Piloswine does commit the shield, and they're able to farm down. Shadow URSARING wanted to farm down, but instead, the opponent brings in their own Ampharos, but they make a fantastic catch, able to catch the Thunder Punch onto the Shadow Ampharos. Unfortunately, Shadow Ampharos is exceedingly glassy, so it still takes quite a bit of damage from the Thunder Punch, fires back at the opposing Ampharos, but not quite enough to KO. This Thunder Punch, not quite enough to KO either. Ampharos is able to farm down. Unfortunately, this is probably farm down range for the Piloswine, but the opponent actually decides to bring in a Spark Lantern. So now they're able to reach a move which actually does some meaningful damage. They switch in URSARING, and again, URSARING has shield advantage, and Shadow URSARING with the shield advantage is incredibly deadly. At this point, you just have to get to the 2 close combats, because my guess is URSARING can probably just farm down the Piloswine, able to get to close combat number 2. This is going to be taking care of the Lantern, and then it's just that Piloswine. Piloswine gets eviscerated by the Shadow URSARING, and that is a good game. Picking up a terrible lead in the next match, Ariados into Noctowl. Save switching again into the Shadow URSARING, and in comes Meganium. Definitely good to bait the Meganium out so Ampharos won't have to see it later. Close combat connects, and they are going to be able to flip switch. Just needs to shield up the Frenzy Plant, counter down, and Shadow URSARING has one back switch. Defense is lowered, so Noctowl is going to be able to farm down, but not before they get hit with the close combat. They decide they do not want that to happen, and they commit the shield. Noctowl does have a sizable energy lead, but in comes Shadow Ampharos. Shadow Ball will hurt. They do commit the shield, and the final Pokemon is Umbreon. Instead of swapping, Shadow Ampharos is going for the Focus Blast. Does the Umbreon respect the Focus Blast? They do not get absolutely one shot. Let's go, Shadow Ampharos. Will this Shadow Ball KO? It does not. Ampharos going for the farm down, simultaneous KO, but Ariados in the back means that is a win. Hopping to the next match, leading Ariados into Umbreon. Pretty nice lead. The fact that Umbreon is staying in makes me think that much like that previous Umbreon lead, this could be an Umbreon running the legacy move of Psychic. Lunge does land, debuffs the attack, and this is enough for Psychic. Moment of truth. Do they have it? They do, and that hits Ariados for big super effective damage. Ariados farms up until just before Umbreon reaches the foul play, and they go for the lunge. This will not KO, but double debuff this foul play will not be enough to take them out, and they should be able to reach a cross poison. Farming up, but the opponent makes a very nice play. They're able to snipe with their own Shadow Ampharos. They're going to bring in URSARING, but unfortunately, Thunder Punch will probably come close to taking out the Shadow URSARING. It is quite glassy. These counters are chunking. They make a very nice catch, and they're able to catch the Thunder Punch onto their own Shadow Ampharos. The Shadow Ampharos is still switch locked in, and they get farmed down. The question is, what is the third? We know there's the very low health Umbreon, but they bring back in the Umbreon. They farm up to the back-to-back Thunder Punches. The fact that they bring in the Umbreon here means they could be weak in the back to Ampharos, and they shield. They are definitely weak in the back to Ampharos. Going for the second Thunder Punch. They get both shields, and at this point, do you shield and just commit to the Ampharos? No, they're going to let it go. They are going to trust in URSARING. In comes Jumpluff, and it is Hyper Beam time. Get ready. Hyper Beam does massive damage to the Jumpluff, able to counter it down, and they're going to be able to reach the close combat versus Umbreon. So Shadow URSARING able to close strong, and that is a good game. Picking up the dream lead in the next match, Ariados into Meganium, and the Meganium is not swapping out. They must be incredibly weak to Ariados if they're staying in. Going for the Cross Poison. Cross Poison does massive damage, and then the opponent save switches into Umbreon, and it becomes clear why they did not switch out at first, because honestly, Umbreon is not much of a better option. As we've seen, Ariados can tank any one move here after debuffing. It only ends up being a foul play. That is fantastic. Ariados is able to reach lunge number 2, and this will be getting that Umbreon quite low, and then they're going to switch in the Shadow URSARING. They try and counter down, but Umbreon is able to hold on very low HP and get off a double debuffed foul play. Do we see that Meganium coming back in? We do not. The opponent brings in Typhlosion to go for an Incinerate down. They're just short of the back-to-back close combats. Are they going to be able to survive this Incinerate and get to the next? They are. That is absolutely massive, as this will grab that second shield. URSARING goes down, but URSARING put in so much work, able to get that Ampharos a 2-0 shield advantage. They are going to shield up on the Ampharos, and the opponent tries to snipe, but they read that snipe like a book. They brought in the Ariados. Ariados catches it. It's double resisted, and they're going to farm up until one before the back-to-back cross poisons. Absolutely masterful play. They're able to take them out. In comes Typhlosion, and not something you see every day. Ariados taking down a fire type, and that is a good game. Hopping to the final match, leading Ariados into yet another Umbreon. Umbreon appears to be a very common sight in the Johto Cup meta so far. Ariados farming up 6 Poison Stings and going for the lunge. We've seen this matchup play out quite a few times, but this time the Umbreon throws on 4. So this is just a foul play, so they more than likely do not have Psychic, so that does make it a significantly better matchup for Ariados. Ariados will still be able to outpace even if they're going straight foul play. Lunge number 2 lands, and this foul play probably won't even take it into the red. Foul play number 2 does not, and here, Umbreon's on its 4 cycle, so Ariados can overfarm quite significantly before going for the cross poison that will probably be enough to KO. The Umbreon does decide to shield, and here, honestly, you can shield and farm down, or they do decide to let it through, and then maybe get some farm on the URSARING, and they do bring in the Shadow URSARING to farm down. The opponent brings in Jumpluff, and the question is Jumpluff prepared for the Hyper Beam? They are farming up. Jumpluff has farmed up as well, going for the Hyper Beam. Hyper Beam connects, taking out the Jumpluff. In comes the Lantern, and that is a good game. All in all, some incredibly fun battles. That Hyper Beam on Shadow Ursaring is absolutely devastating, and Shadow Ampharos absolutely packs a punch as well. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're enjoying the content, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And a special thank you, as always, to our members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide is absolutely incredible. So thank you guys oh so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.